Hi everyone, it's Natalie here, and I'm in super informal, just got home from work and had a very long day, and everything is cooking away on the stove. So while the beans are cooking and the rice is cooking, and I gotta wait for them to get to a certain level of doneness before I can go in there and cook further, I thought I would do a, relatively speaking, of course, because I like to talk, but a quick video response to Tattooed Spirits hashtag who do you think you are? So I find that really fascinating. I don't know if anyone's seen it. If you're watching this, I will put a link to his original video in the show, in the notes down below. But he was really, I loved the message, like everything that, you know, dude, everything you're saying in your video was like spot on. It was fantastic. Basically, like if your clients are coming in to talk to you and the questions that they're asking are things like, you know, we've all seen this. I know that we've all seen this, but the questions about, you know, does this person, you know, is this person going to ask me out? Does this person really like me? You know, will I get this job, et cetera, et cetera. And the point he makes is that, you know, if you knew who you really were, deep at the core, at the core of your being, the answer to those questions wouldn't really matter. And I think that's such a beautiful reminder to all of us. I mean, I think even the most practiced and, you know, I don't know what the word is that I want, realized, you know, of all of us, we're still going to experience those moments from time to time. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I have a lot in the last year of like wondering, you know, what's in store for me next, who am I really, etc. And I've had some really difficult experiences in the last year that brought those things to the surface. And really being reminded of who I am through friends, through former students, people that care deeply about me and really do know who I am. Just kind of having those gentle little reminders from time to time really keeps you going and keeps you uplifted. And if that's something that we as readers could bring to clients, boy, that's a big part of the job. Or it's a part of the job that I feel like is really, really probably completely needed. Now, I'm saying that kind of half out of one side of my mouth because I don't read for clients right now. And I haven't read for clients in a really, really, really long time. And as I got ready to like write a written response, to Tattoo, and I don't know his actual like street name. Otherwise, I would be calling him by a street name. But if I'm really honest, I have not read for clients probably since I was 32. By the time I was 32, I really wasn't using tarot cards at all much anymore. I was mostly reading for myself with oracle decks and tarot cards, and then reading for clients as a medium. So in my 20s, I had to make a difficult choice at a certain point, and began really investing my time and energy in theater and in arts, you know, the arts and teaching. And I gave up nearly all psychic and mediumship type work by the time I was 32. And the reason that I really ultimately gave it up, because I think if I really wanted to keep doing it, you know, there are enough difficult moments, you know, as an artist, especially like as a freelance artist and freelance like teacher, director, and actor, there were enough times that I could easily have, you know, ramped up how much I was reading for people, you know, in quiet moments and supplemented my income, you know, relatively nicely. And what I kept finding was that it actually, what I found more interesting was to continue to develop and grow myself. So right at a point where I could have really started to turn a good level of income, I would step things up a notch in my own practice, give up reading for clients for a while in order to really develop my intuition further, you know, take more psychic development classes, or more, eventually mediumship development classes, because I realized that what was happening a lot of times when I would read for people is that significant people in their lives would start to come through and kind of almost interrupt the reading, and it would all become about that communication. So it began to shift my focus as a reader, and as a, I guess as a as a psychic. It's really weird to talk about this, I got to be honest, because I haven't done it for so long, and because ultimately I really lost faith in it. And I'll tell you why. Because, and the bottom line is that these gifts, sensitivities, gifts, whatever, no matter how well we develop them, they're just going to fluctuate. They're never going to be 100% reliable. And I think as long as people really understand, including the reader and the client, that that's the case, because it is, the more that it's possible to come from that place of understanding that, like, this is maybe yes, maybe no, we don't know, the more realistic you can be about the reading and how much you let it impact your life. It gives you a certain level of distance between what's happening and what's possible versus as opposed to just taking it all like it's 100% true. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, I mean, I think the turning point for me was, there were like two turning points. One big one was my mediumship teacher, who I loved. I mean, he was a wonderful mentor and a really wonderful human being. Had started getting me like opportunities to do demonstrations of mediumship at spiritualist churches. And I was living in London at that time, and the churches that I would visit were, filled with really lovely, beautiful people. And I made the assumption that because they were there, they were interested in their own cultivation as human beings. And I will say, in all honesty, looking back and even having had lots of very mediumistic experiences as a non-working medium in the years since, it's really taken me until the last few years to really discern when I'm actually getting something that I can say, I don't know where this is coming from, but there's definitely something going on here. And I actually couldn't make it up. I couldn't really imagine my way into this if I wanted to. That's only really something I could honestly say within the last 2 years. And that's maybe a story for another time. But I experienced like 3 or 4 deaths in a very short period of time, along with like 3 students. Well, we had a kind of like a mini suicide cluster at school that I was helping to manage and be with. So the intensity of that time period sort of shifted things for me and imposed it on me in a way that had never happened before. Having said that, it just makes me so nervous to talk about, because it's weird to discuss it with anyone, actually, in truth, anymore. But having said that, I will say I don't always know whether what I was getting was, well, I don't always know where it was coming from 100%. I think that if any medium was 100% honest about it, and very few, I think, would, and I'm really conscious about not being disparaging to mediums, but I think if they were to really spend the time examining, like, where does the information come from? How do you know 100% where it's coming from, and so on? If nobody was going to judge you for it, like if nobody was going to like destroy your reputation, your sense of self-worth, etc., around that question. Does that kind of make sense? Because there's a lot at stake for most people who practice mediumship, which is also why I don't practice it anymore. They would tell you they're not 100% sure. Do you know that you're never making it up? There were some moments where I'd think, hey, is there any chance that I could be making this up? I'm not really sure where this is coming from. Definitely if something feels fluid and it's between you and their person and there's something that you're connecting to, I mean, those things are all very real, but then what is that? And is it a deceased person? Anyway, it raises a lot of questions, and I'm willing to just ask those questions because I really don't know. I'm not dead yet. And I definitely am very interested in working with people who are going through the process of dying, or just why become a doula. But to take it back to the whole thing, these were the people that I was reading for in churches were, generally speaking, not interested in their own cultivation. And they were coming there to hear messages from the same, 2, 3, 4 family members, sometimes just one family member, that they'd been coming to hear messages from for years, 10 years, 20 years, maybe more. And as a new medium, I would always be the person that had to go first. And I was really unfailingly honest. So if I was having a tough night, if the connections were not good, I really had very little interest in making stuff up. I had no interest in that. If I wanted to do that, I could go and be on stage. That was how I felt about it. I could go and act. But the demonstration of mediumship for me was not that. It was about really connecting to something bigger than me, that was deeper than me, that was not completely knowable, very mysterious, very all the stuff. And so I wasn't as good of a showman as a lot of the mediums that had read before me, but I'd find it shocking that I'd give some readings, and some of them would be very spot on, some of them would be very spotty. In truth, and I would be content with that because it was honest. Then I would have then the other mediums, and this happened one particular place, who shall remain nameless, but it was in a small town south of London in Kent, just to throw that out there, and there were 2 or 3 mediums that, I think just 2, there would usually be 3 of us. There were 2 that went after me. Man, they were all too happy to kind of attack my method of reading, but it was all very passive aggressive. And it started to become clear to me that the audience or the congregation were mostly happy to be entertained. They liked the quick wit. They liked the they liked the jabs, interestingly, or were willing to at least give me kind of a look across the room, kind of sorry, this person's jabbing at you, but that's the way it is. It was rough. I mean, it was really rough work. It didn't feel as rough as being an actor, but it was rough work. And yeah, it was just gross. And these mediums most of the time were reading for people that they had read for before. So they'd been demonstrating in these same churches, 3, 5, 10, 12 times, 15 times in, over the period of maybe 3 or 4 years. I don't know. They would know the audience, and they'd know the people who were there, and they'd know who they were there for. So frankly, what would start to happen is there would be a sense of this medium's coming out to talk to the audience, and they're going to make a point that, well, she's not very good, is she? She doesn't know how to get the really good information, but it's okay because I'm here. And and then they would get up and start delivering the goods. And even though basically these people were being fed the same information time after time, with the same mediums over and over and over again, they were more I don't know, it just didn't change anything. It didn't change anything for them. That was what they were content to do. And that felt really dishonest. And I thought, my God, you're here getting, because the majority of the time what would happen, and I felt like this was for me, this was a big tell, was if there was something genuine coming through, it would be coming from a place of love. And the most overwhelming thing that would come from that message would be love. I love you so much that you cannot possibly know, and that love is the nature of who and what we are. to such a degree that anything else, that we experience in life, anything else that we believe we are in life, cannot possibly compare. It pales in comparison to the amount of love and the kind of love that we really are deep down. And that was really missed on a lot of people. That was not enough, or it was not, it didn't rock them to their core. Even if it rocked them to their, or they become addicted to it. It might maybe rock them to their core once, and then after that they're like, I really need to feel that again, but didn't realize that they could feel that at any moment simply by recalling it. So I started telling people that, you don't need me to tell you this. You don't need me to communicate directly with that person. Think of them, you can link to it like you are now. That person will be there for you, et cetera, et cetera. You can trust what you feel. You can trust what you know. And that just wasn't enough. So as I go back into, that combined with some of the just blatant dishonesty and cold reading tactics and just interpersonal undermining tactics and so on, it was just so exhausting. And when I was 32 and I knew I was going to be leaving anyway to come back to the States, I just gave up. Because I couldn't see the point. I really couldn't see the point. And it wasn't worth it enough to me personally to continue my own spiritual development in that direction if it wasn't going to benefit other people. It just didn't make any sense. So I gave up. And I pursued Buddhism after that. And that's just the truth. That's just what I did. And that has been a very rewarding path. And I feel like I've been able to benefit people in ways that I could never have imagined as a result of it. That said, as I go back into examining, do I want to work with clients again and read tarot, it raises a lot of big questions, because I don't see the point. I struggle to wonder, like, how can I make a difference? What can I do to really serve people well if there is such a low sense of who they are? And so my intention, as I've looked at things, like, how do I want to work with people, and how can I really work with this, with reading in such a way that they come, that a client comes away knowing their truth, knowing the truth of who they really are. I'm looking for ways to address that, I guess, is where I'm coming from. I'm so tired. It's the end of the day. I probably shouldn't have tried to record a video tonight, but I saw that and it just really inspired me and I got geeked. But yes. So I really love this possibility, of that particular hashtag. Oh my God, it's been 18 minutes. So that's really what I wanted to say. I might do a really quick card shuffle for myself later and possibly look at editing some crap out of this. Or I might just put it up as it is. I don't know. Or who knows. But I just wanted to say that I thank you, Tattooed Spirit, for putting that out there and offering that up as a way, maybe as a way in before even doing, answering the question or doing a spread to answer the question that the client has about the date, or about whether somebody really likes them, or whether they should get back together with person X or whatever. Before we really look at delving into that question, I think it's, as someone who wants to support you, maybe we could look at why that question is important to you. Because I feel that if you really knew who you are at the core of your being, whatever the answer is to that question really wouldn't matter so much. And then I would maybe phrase it that way, and then begin to, find the way to really connect to that human being and help them connect to who they are as we're exchanging. So that's the intent. That's the place I want to come from. So I was really excited to see that. So thank you very much, Tattooed Spirit, for that offering. and I'm going to end this excessively long diatribe that lasted way longer than I ever intended. So have a great night, everybody. Take care. JK, LOL. I'm back. I did actually do the reading. So I was sitting here rewatching. I went and dealt with my food, got stuff to a good point, and was sitting in here watching back what I had just recorded to see if there was anything even, you know, coherent that I could put out there. And I pulled out my Marielle, and I was shuffling away, watching away. And at a certain point, and this happens sometimes with me because I'll sit and shuffle, and I'll be ruminating over a question, and it'll just keep coming, you know, I'll just continue shuffling, but I won't actually stop and draw a card, basically. And often when I'm doing that and just kind of, it's not even that I'm perseverating over it or anything, I'm just ruminating or clearing my mind or whatever, but I just like shuffling. Let's be real. Shuffling is nice. But one card just flew out of the deck. So I've been sitting there thinking, okay, who am I? Who am I? Who do I think I am? Who am I? And the Marielle Tarot says the Sun, which is such a lovely, lovely card. And so I picked it up and I went, oh, that's so nice. I love that. I'm not a Leo. I don't know why I thought that. I guess I so associate the Sun card with Leo, and I'm a Sagittarius. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What a beautiful answer, though. So I thought I would just come back on and share that. So, okay, now I'm done for real. Night-night.